How do you find stable prices for Amazon products using Keepa? This was actually a question I got in the YouTube comments just a few weeks ago, and I wanted to be sure to address 3 different ways that you can use Keepa to find stable price points on Amazon products so that you can source those for arbitrage, for wholesale, and other purposes. Before I bring up my screen, if you don't know who I am, my name is Jimmy Smith, and I've built and scaled multiple 6- and 7-figure businesses online, trained thousands of other people to do the same, especially on Amazon, and I make these videos because I want to make online selling simple for those that are seeking financial freedom, just like me and so many other people have done over the years. So let's go ahead and get my screen pulled up so that way we can take a look at Keepa. Specifically, I want to show you 3 different methods. The first method is going to be very basic. The next 2 methods get to a little bit more into the weeds with Keepa, and specifically the data product finder. So right now where we're at is in the Keepa data product finder. The way that you get to that is by going to keepa.com, select data, and then select the product finder right up there. Okay, now this is very easy to get to. The great thing about Keepa is there are millions of different data points that they have that we can access, and we can manipulate the different data points that Keepa has to pull back products that we are specifically looking for. Now, in this very first example, the way that I'm doing this is by just simply putting in a basic stable price point across the current 30-day average, 90-day average, 180-day average price points inside of the new price field for the Keepa data product finder. Now, I did also include other things such as sales rank minimums or maximums and Amazon being out of stock. I've also got a few other active filters that I've put in here because ultimately I was trying to pull back some ASINs that look like they'd be good reselling opportunities. So let's take a look at each of these. Right now I put a sales rank currently at 250,000 maximum. Now you can actually put in averages here if you're looking for an average sales rank amount over the time period that you're wanting to experience. Now a lot of times I'll put in maybe a maximum of 250,000 in the current, and I'll do that for 30, 90, 180 days and the 365-day average, so I know that it's consistently selling at least throughout the year. Now, the problem here is that sometimes you're going to pass up on opportunities that have no sales rank. But for the purpose of this video, I wanted to show you things that have a stable price point and typically look like they'd be potentially good reselling opportunities. Now, the next thing I did was Amazon out of stock because for this video, don't want to necessarily compete with Amazon. And then we did a same exact parameters here for the new price for current all the way up to the 180-day average. Now you could extend that to 365 if you wanted as well. But with this, any product that you're looking at, we're going to be pulling back those that have price points between $20 to $35 for the last 180 days on average. Now there may be outliers or price spikes or price drops that are very short, but these are the average price points over the last 180 days. And so that'll bring back very consistent pricing. Also, I'm using arts, crafts, and sewing. I put in a new offer count here of a minimum of 3 sellers across the board over the last 365 days. And I also included a minimum of 4 live FBA sellers. I did that just because I want to look for possible arbitrage or wholesale opportunities here. But you can leave this out and just do the 3 across the board in the new offer count if you're looking for good opportunities. This will significantly reduce the amount of products that you're pulling back. Now, I also did no variations. If you're a seller that's comfortable with variations, you can leave that off and just keep that open so that way you can sell clothing and shoes or other products that have variations. And then I did a 90-day out of stock percentage of Amazon being at 70% out of stock or higher over the last 90 days. And so I did that just to make sure that Amazon wasn't typically on the listing and then they just recently fell out of stock on it. And so I wanted to make sure that we excluded a lot of things where Amazon for sure was heavily on that listing. And so that's everything that I have in here for this first filter. It's a very basic filter, actually. If you really wanted to get away with the most basic options, you could just do sales rank. You could do this new pricing here to find the stable prices and then select the category and do the new offer count and just leave everything else blank if you wanted to. But this is how I wanted to do it for this first search here. So let's take a look at what these Keepa charts look like. We do have 334 products that came back. They're not all going to be ideal for arbitrage. Many of these could be great for wholesale, or they're just going to be impossible to find. That is the name of the game with Amazon reselling, is that you are going to be kind of looking for a treasure hunt in that case. But let's look at these Keepa charts because I think I just want to show you what these are typically looking like over the last 180 days. This one has a very stable chart over the last 3 months. If we look at the last year, you can see that it actually has increased in prices from 21 up to 2280. It's had some pretty good seller movement here as well. And so this is the kind of chart that you're going to be finding whenever you're looking for a stable price point. There are ways to manipulate Keepa to find increasing prices and decreasing sellers and so many other combinations. But ultimately, for the purpose of the question that I got of how do we find stable prices, this is the most simple way to do it, right? Because here I can look at any of these Keepa charts. They're all going to have have stable price points. And so it's going to be more about trying to then find these products at that point. It's not necessarily my favorite method of sourcing, of going from finding an ASIN to then looking for the product. I personally prefer having the products and the brands that I know I can source from a supplier and then using Keepa to find those products. But ultimately, this is a good way to find stable price points. Now let's get into the second method for finding stable price points. You go into the product finder here. I did everything exactly the same. You can see it's still got the sales rank. It's got Amazon out of stock. It's the same exact category of arts, crafts, and sewing. Same new offers, same new FBA, no variations. All of this is the same here. The only change that I made was the new price here. I did put a current new price of $20 or higher because I just wanted to have that minimum price point. I didn't want something that was $6 popping up. But what I used was the drop percentages. Now, it's kind of hard a little bit to see on the screen there, but there's a 90-day drop percentage. Now, I used the longest option, the 90 days, versus the 1 day, the 7, or the 30 days. The reason I used the 90-day drop percentage is because I wanted to see a longer price history for some price stability on products that typically aren't going to be moving a lot in the price. And so what I did here is I put negative 25, which means a 25% increase in the price over the last 90 days, to 5. Now you can see there's no negative there. The 5 means that it could have a 5% price decrease over those 90 days, but a 5% price decrease up to a 25% price increase is fairly stable. And that's the point of this video. Now, if you're looking for increasing prices, you would do these drop percentages much differently. Or if you're looking to use the drop percentages on reviews or seller counts, etc., you can do that as well. But to find stable prices, this was the only change I made in the whole entire search, which was to have a minimum price point of $20 and to have a very stable drop percentage for the 90-day drop percentage there. So let's check out the 314 products that we have in this case. Now, again, since there was a minimum of $20 price point, we may actually find things that are $60 or $70 that have a very stable price as well. Let's just take a look at some of these different Keepa charts. Now, again, you can see this Keepa chart here, very, very stable price point, especially over the last 90 days. Now, that was the parameter that essentially we used whenever I was sourcing or whenever I was putting those into the Keepa Data Product Finder, was the 90-day drop percentage. So I can't really speak to what's happening before those 90 days, but ultimately most of these are going to be fairly stable. You can see this is fairly stable. It had more price volatility prior to those 90 days, but still fairly stable for a price point for a product. Now, the next thing that we can look at, let's just take a look at this one. This is fairly stable for the most part over the last year. It did have some drops here, but it went right back up to that stable price point, and it's looking essentially at average prices over the last 90 days. But this is a very stable chart. It's got a lot of good movement on the seller count. It's got a lot of sales based on the monthly sold amount and the sales rank data. And so these are the types of products that have stable price points. And again, we're just looking in arts, crafts, and sewing. You could look in any other category. You could run it through all the categories. This one is also very stable because of the way that we set up the prices. Now, this looks to be beyond that 90 days, right? So we had some pretty big price increases over Q4, actually, this past year, and over, I guess, fall, which would have been back to school, I'm assuming, whenever this watercolor pad was being bought a little bit more heavily. But over the last 3 months, been very stable for a price point for this product. So that's the second way that you can use it, which is drop percentages. So again, to recap so far, the first way is by going through into the advanced filter and just putting in a bunch of the same exact price parameters inside this new field. The next one is to utilize the drop percentage feature in the new field. So that way you can see the new price point with a stable drop percentage over the last 90 days is going to be what I recommend if you want the most stable of prices. And then the third method of finding stable prices on Keepa is utilizing the standard deviation filter. Now, this one gets a little bit more complex with math and other things. I've done a whole video on using the standard deviation filter and what that even means. It kind of goes over my head a little bit because while I'm good at math, I'm not good with standard deviation, but I still understand the basics here to show you how to find stable price points utilizing that filter. Now, ultimately, before we get to that, I do want you to know I have over 60 different sourcing systems that I go through in a live 2-month training called Evergreen Sourcing System. Now, if you're interested in when the next live trainings are going to be starting, you can head over to askjimmysmith.com/evergreen. Now, let's take a look at the standard deviation filter. So again, it's underneath the buy box section inside of Keepa, and in this, we are essentially looking at the buy box only. So it is going to filter out some of those results. Before, where we were looking at the new price, that means there may not have been a buy box at the time whenever we were doing our sourcing. But with this, it is only about the buy box standard deviation, which means that we are only going to be pulling pulling products that have a buy box to be able to calculate this with. So it will change up some of our results here. If we look at all of the active filters in this case, again, I did a new price of $20 minimum. We don't have the 90-day drop percentage anymore, and everything else is the exact same except the standard deviation here. I put from 0 to 5, which is a very low standard deviation, and a low standard deviation means that there's not much price variability or not many price changes at all. Now, if we take a look at this and click on find products, this is going to pull back a lot of similar listings that we've already seen, but it does kind of reconfirm that this is how we find stable price points. If we look at this, now this has been really stable in offer count as well. You can see this is a stable price. Again, this is over the last 90 days in this case. And so I just want to double check and reiterate that point. If we go back to this advanced filter and I scroll down, the buy box standard deviation, we actually do have it over 365 days. I thought it was 90, so that's my mistake. But still, it's going to keep it at a fairly stable price point over the last 365 days versus with the drop percentages, it was 90 days only. So again, let me go ahead and pull this up. We can take a look at this one. This is a really stable price point over the last 3 months and really over the last year. And again, we can just continue going down this line of just random products. We can see, wow, these prices are really stable and we have a bunch of seller fluctuations here. I would watch out for these massive drops in sellers that could show an IP complaint of some sort of an account health violation that popped up. I'm not sure. But ultimately, these are very stable prices. And so for somebody that's looking for stable price points, that may point to some good longevity for an ASIN or a product that you want to send into Amazon. This is 3 of the ways that you can utilize Keepa to do that. There are more ways to do so and more ways to use Keepa that I think would be better for sourcing, which I've covered plenty on this channel. But ultimately, hopefully this helps give you some clarity on how you should be sourcing to find stable products on Amazon. If you're interested in the Evergreen sourcing system program, check out the link below. Or if you're a seller doing over $5,000 per month in sales, you're looking to grow and scale your business, check out my Business Building Legends community at askjimmysmith.com/legends. I hope this video helped you and blessed you. Ask your questions down below in the comments, and I'll be sure to answer them, as many of them as I possibly can. And I hope you have a great rest of your day and a blessed rest of your week.